Hi there and welcome. It's Jennifer McGuire. Today I have something for you that I rarely have, and that is a shorter video. It's not that short, but it's pretty short for me, and I consider this a quick tip on how to create a highlight for a background. So I wanted to create a bunch of birthday cards with a colorful background and that lovely stamped sentiment right in the center. However, when you do that layering on the colored background, it was way too busy. So I'm going to show you how to create kind of a highlight behind the background so it's not as overwhelming. It really makes a big difference and it's super easy to do. Okay, so I'm going to start by creating my backgrounds with this Mama Elephant stamp set. This one's an older one, but I think it is just fantastic. Probably one of my all-time favorite stamp sets. And I'm going to stamp it repeatedly on the background, filling up the entire background with some pink ink. This is bubblegum ink from Hero Arts. Any kind of ink would work here. I think a dye ink would be best for this technique since you don't need to let it dry. Now, I always start when I'm doing a background like this where I want to cover it all. I always start in one corner and work my way out, kind of like a sunshine. So I start in the corner and then work my way out and across, like diagonally into the other corner. That really prevents you from getting trapped white spaces. Now, if you do get a few trapped white spaces, that's okay, because there are a lot of little images in that stamp set that you could fill it in with. Or you could just use a background stamp, and this would take a lot less time. These would be super fast to create with a background stamp. Now, once this is completely dry, it's time for the fun part. You need some sort of inking tool, a sponge, a Ranger ink blending tool, or even something like I have here. I've had this forever. I'm not even sure where I got it from. And you want a good white pigment ink. My favorite white pigment ink is from Hero Arts. It's called Unicorn White. Now you want to pounce this ink on towards the center because you want it to be as heavy as you can right at that center point of where your sentiment will be. So I'm putting that on as heavy as I can. Then I'm going to put it lighter in the area around that so it blends out into the regular stamping on the edge. So you'll see that when I get away from the center, I'm kind of pulling the color because I don't want much of that white ink there. I really want the most concentrated amount of that white pigment ink right at the center point and then soften as we go out. Now you'll see a lot of that pink ink is still showing through the center, which is perfectly fine. We can layer on top of this to make that as white as possible towards the center. However, it's best to dry in between the steps. So this is a very wet ink. This is pigment ink. Pigment inks stay wet because they kind of sit on the surface of the paper. So you either need to heat emboss it or heat set it. I'm choosing to heat set this, so I have a very hot heat gun ready to go here, and I'm just going to dry that pigment ink. I really want the center to be even brighter white so I can use that busy sentiment on top. So I'm going back and repeating the process to make the highlight even more intense. Check out that cool highlighted area in the center, very easy to do. And let me compare it to a piece where I didn't do the highlighting. So you can see the difference towards the center of this piece. Very big difference between the two. I also wanted to quickly show you that you could do this on a tone-on-tone background. So in this example, I have some soft pink cardstock, and I did the same pink ink stamping on top. This time, I'm going to do a white ink highlight in the center. It's easier to do this time. I only did one layer because the white on top of the pink background makes a really big difference. So now I have a highlighted area in the center of this too. So you could do a colored background with colored stamping or a white background with white stamping. Now, after I've heat set this completely, I'm still going to go over it with my anti-static powder tool. This is just a powder that comes out. This tool lasts forever. I've had mine for many years. This will prevent any kind of smearing that may occur because that ink might still be wet. And it'll also give you a nice, clean, embossed image when we do some embossing on top of it. So this is a Mama Elephant stamp set. I think this is one of the best birthday stamp sets of all time. Lots of sentiments that can go inside the card also. I'm inking it up well with some Versamark ink. This is a clear stick ink that you won't see much at all when I first stamp this. But then I'm going to add some Wow silver glitter embossing powder on top of this. I really like this glitter embossing powder. It has actual glitter pieces in the embossing powder, but when the embossing powder melts, it holds the glitter in place. And because we did that highlight around that area, we don't have it fighting with that colorful background. So we have this smooth one layer piece that really didn't take much time at all. And we can do this in many colors, and you'll see, in fact, I did that because I really needed to replenish my birthday card supply. Now on the pink background, I did the exact same embossing, and I really love that silver glitter embossing. It really makes that sentiment pop even more. Now I wanted to show you some of the other examples. On all of the other cards that I did, all the other colorful backgrounds, I decided to do a black heat embossed image. Now for black heat embossing, I highly recommend using a good black pigment ink and clear powder instead of using a clear ink and black powder. Black powder is not very forgiving, so I find it best to use VersaFine black ink, which is a pigment ink, very crisp black ink, and then put on clear embossing powder and heat set that. Now remember, you want to use an anti-static powder tool over this background, or you're going to have heat embossing powder all over that background where you put the white pigment ink. You really want to make sure you heat set that white pigment ink and use the powder tool over it, and you get that beautiful highlight around your stamp sentiment. I hope this tip of creating the highlight is something that's helpful to you. If you're interested in these products, I link them below in my YouTube description to multiple sources, and you can go over to my blog to see pictures of each of the cards. I appreciate you stopping by, and I hope you'll return again soon for another video. Thanks for watching.